thankful to welcome Kathleen Rehl to my program today, and I saw her in an article in the newspaper, and so it goes step to step, and finally we connected. Welcome.
It's great to be
I'm so
here.
glad to have you here because this is a wonderful subject, and this book has taken off. It's called Moving Forward on Your Own, and it is a guide with really just about everything you need to know if you are suddenly widowed about finances. And also, I'll ask her more about this. She deals with the emotions, and apparently emotions and money are somehow tied together. We'll find that out, but I do want to welcome you.
Thank you.
And you are qualified to write this book because you are a certified financial planner.
Yes.
And you have a doctorate in?
Education. I was a college prof many, many years ago.
Mm-hmm. At what point in life did you become a financial planner?
Well, after I left the ivory tower realm and entered the nonprofit sector, it was after I got tenure, I decided it was time to do something different. And I read that book, What Color is Your Parachute, and decided, all right, I'm going to try something different. And discovered I had skills and talents in the nonprofit sector. And so I worked for a couple of agencies. The last one was a Christian social service agency. And I worked with donors who were helping to benefit the ministries. And I decided, because I was dealing with so many people in the financial world, I was helping people to make gifts. So I was talking to their stockbrokers, to their insurance agents, to their financial planners, and I wanted to be able to better speak the same language. So I went back to school. My husband said, "What, you need another degree? You already got a Ph.D. But got my certified financial planner status, and then decided, you know, I want to have my own business because I think I can help even more people sitting on the same side of the table with them. And my husband, who was a Lutheran pastor, he was retiring, and we decided it would be good for him to segue and be a part of the business. So we started that 15 years ago, and we actually began by specializing in clergy planning because, believe it or not, there's some very unique kinds of things with pastors.
In your financial planning, did you ever, were you a stockbroker? Did you pick individual stocks or that kind of thing?
The way that I do financial planning is, I call it comprehensive, holistic planning. And I don't sell any products, so I don't sell individual stocks. What I sell is my brain. And I give advice on how to invest and how to plan for retirement, how to budget, how to evaluate insurance, how to do educational planning for children, so charitable gift planning. So it's a whole realm of things. But I'm not a stock picker. Now, there are some financial...
Forward on Your Own, I said it earlier, it's taking off. Tell me about how I found it because you were featured in an article in my newspaper, but this has been featured in New York Times. Tell us where all people are learning about this.
It's actually, articles have been written about the book and my work with widows, and we counted them up the other day. It's over 24 publications. There's a Wall Street Journal, you mentioned.
Major publications,
yeah,
we might say.
New York Times. Kiplinger's recommended the book. AARP Bulletin has. Bottom Line Personal just came out with an article. Well, it's actually the 15th of January, and today, as we're filming this, it's not really out yet, but it'll be out soon. So it's been in a lot of publications. It won this past year 7 National Book Awards.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful.
And so it's like all of a sudden the media is giving attention, saying we better pay some heed to the issue of widows because before now there really hasn't been a big focus on widows. But when you look at the statistics, which is fascinating, and maybe this harkens back to my days as a college prof, but I love numbers, widows in the country today, and it's growing by 800,000 a year.
Seems like the men pass first, right?
Yes. The average age that a woman is when she's widowed is 56, and sometimes people are surprised about that. They say, oh my gosh.
I'm surprised, that's young.
Yeah, it's 56. And by the time a woman, a married woman is 55, if you look at that population, a quarter of them have experienced widowhood already. Move to 65, and it's half of us. And when you go to 75, it's 2/3. And then if trends hold right now, especially with the boomer generation, 80% of all women at the time that they die will be on their own, either they never married, or they were divorced, or they're widowed. And 70% of those 80 will have been widowed.
And there's a message there. You need to know what's going on in your family finances.
I was at a luncheon, this was about a month ago, and we were around a round table. There were 8 of us, and we got to meet each other and what we did. And one lady said, "Oh, now I know how I recognize you. I saw your picture in the St. Pete Times. You're that lady who wrote the book about widows." I said, "Yes." And she said, "Well, I never need to get that book because I'm never going to be a widow, because my husband, Bill, and I have made an agreement that I get to die first. Isn't that right, Bill?" And he's kind of like going, duh. She said, "Money is boring to me.
I would love to know what her IQ is.
I don't want to know anything about that. Anytime he talks about money, I just go, la 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 la. I'm going to go play with the grandkids." But as I looked at her husband, Bill,
That's foolish.
He looked older than she is, and I'm betting that probably he will go
Very
first.
foolish.
And then she'll be in double jeopardy, because she'll be caught in the grief, and that's a whole nother topic that we could talk about, grief, and then she won't know anything about the money. I've had women come to me who have never written a check, who don't understand what's in the safety deposit box.
Really, even now?
I have had one who had never written a check, yes.
I want to talk to you about the, there is a checklist in this book, by the way, that is worth really the price of the book. We're going to put the website up because you can learn so much from websites. And I'm talking with Kathleen Rehl, who has written this Moving Forward on Your Own, if you just now joined us. Well, first of all, let me ask you this. Okay, you knew all this about money, you've helped everybody else with it, and then your husband dies.
Yes.
Okay, sister, know everything. Did you learn more?
Oh, yes.
Going through it
Oh,
yourself?
Yes. It was December of 2006 that he was diagnosed with incurable, inoperable cancer. And February 12th, he died. Very short amount of time. And
Indeed.
when, like before his death, I had worked with widows before, and I thought I understood how to work with widows. But suddenly there I am a widow myself. And I experienced the crushing grief that widows typically do. And some things, I mean, I thought my brain was out to lunch.
You couldn't think straight.
I wondered if I was going crazy or not. But this is, and I've subsequently learned, this cognitive dissonance, that's the fancy term for it, that happens when our brain shuts down. And there were times that, in the book I mentioned, that I couldn't remember where I put my car keys. I was filling out a form one day, and I did not know my Social Security number.
It's a perfect time to make a colossal mistake.
Yes.
And be taken advantage of, too.
So as I worked my way through those initial phases of grief, and I realized I had to create a better tool to help my widowed sisters, because there really is not a lot that's out there. And I wanted to do something that would encourage them, that would help them feel that, yes, that they could step up, that this is not a real scary thing, and that they would be empowered and that they could take action. So that was the premise that I started the book on. And it took me a while to think that through. And then I also decided I wanted it to be a beautiful book, just like Women Are Beautiful.
And it is.
So it's all in color.
You got a little bit of, at least, question about that.
Yes, I did.
Was it from a guy?
Well, the question in terms of when
your money history and style.
Yeah, that's the way
that
to
would
get
be an important
insightful. But this is original art by a friend of mine, Patrick Gaughan, who is an artist, and my brother Stan Moore did the photography work for it. But when it came time to publish the book, I had publishers say, "Oh no, we can't publish that. It's going to be way too expensive. We'll just do it in black and white, and we'll put a little spot color here and there." No, I wanted it to be all in color.
It is a lovely book.
And it's done like somewhat like a journal, where a woman is asked questions on several of the pages, and she writes in her answers. There's a place for her to tell her story in the beginning. A journalist from U.S. News and World Report said, "This is a book not just for someone who is a widow already. It's before you become widows, because it can help you get things in order ahead of time." But
title right on money and emotions. What is the? They don't seem like they would intertwine that much. But
so many of our decisions are made related to our emotions and our feelings.
Even money?
Yes. And in fact, there's one little inventory in there about your financial feelings. And for the widow to go through and to check how she feels about different items, like her ability to manage money, that she's got enough or not enough. So yes, and our emotions do drive. And when I talked about the crushing emotions of grief, when that shuts you down, and that's one of the reasons that one of my first rules for widows is no major decisions for the first year that you can't change. Now granted, you have to do some things early on, like the funeral, and apply for benefits and things like that, but there, like one thing that...
For instance, what should she not do?
All right, the house is often a big thing. I'll have women that say, I just can't, this house is so empty now. I just want to get away from it. I go in the living room and there's that big blue chair where Bob used to fall asleep at night, and I'm just going crazy about it. And well, one of the ladies I worked with, she said, I said, okay, so what are you thinking about doing? She said, well, my son said that I could come and live with him.
Uh-oh.
And
red flag.
A red flag too. And I said, isn't this the son that you don't get along with your daughter-in-law so well? Oh, no, no. Well, they've had a conversation and everything's going to be fine. And where do they live? Well, they live in Texas. Do you have any friends in Texas? No. Is your church? Is there? And it was just like, she said, okay, I see.
It's a golden opportunity. Just blow it, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Another big mistake that might happen is, unfortunately, widows are taken advantage of by unscrupulous. My aunt was one of them. She was sold.
Where were you for your aunt?
Oh, my aunt was in California, and my aunt, when I visited her this last summer, she told me what had happened. She said, oh, I know you're so busy, Kathleen, and I didn't want to bother you. So my friend told me about this good investment. Well, it turned out she bought Iraqi dinars under the guise that this is their currency, that they were going to increase in value. She was told.
Oh, you're kidding.
No.
Iraqi money.
Yes. That the war was going to be over
I've
soon.
heard of that scam.
And so she pulled, when I went to visit her this last summer, she pulls out, and they're these beautiful in pink and green, and she's got a certificate that says it's held at this bank. And I said to my aunt, I said, you know, one of the easiest ways that I check on this, and I pull out my smartphone, is, I said, you go in and you type, let's type Iraqi dinar scam. And I hit enter, and it came back with a whole list. And I said, would you like to?
Oh, bless
I'll
her
read
heart.
She said, I had a hunch that it was wrong.
Follow your hunch.
Yes, and unfortunately.
I hope that you will avail yourself of this book, and also that you've written down the website, because this lady, she's busy, but she does speak to groups. And if you have a women's group in your church, or any kind, if you're a pastor watching and you want to bless and inform those in your church, this lady, you can tell she is well qualified. I could talk to you all day, but we're out of time. And so let me remind you again, moving forward on your own, I cannot stress strongly enough how important this subject is. And when these major newspapers and so forth are picking up on this very book, it means she's covered the information very well. Thank you, and I hope you come back sometime.
Thank you.
And I do want to remind you that for a large portion of this book, she designates it to ministries and so forth that will benefit widows. I think that was one of the most important conversations we've ever had on Homekeepers. And ladies, it just doesn't pay to be ignorant. You really need to know what's going on in your household when it comes to finances and financial planning and all of the things that really, in some ways, through the years have